This video shows how to run a crosstab in Simmons Insight. It's a gigantic consumer behavior database. So for our example, let's consider we want to know more about what types of consumers, say, purchase Ben & Jerry's as their number one ice cream, or that have eaten Ben & Jerry's most recently. So we're going to select indicators for both the columns and the row of this crosstab, which is really just a big table. So let's start off by just typing a few characters in the main search field. Let's have this type ahead function, and it will list all of the matching indicators. So we're interested in, let's limit it to snack, dessert, ice cream, sherbet, brands most often. So this would be like the most often consumed. You're scrolling down, you'll see also, so maybe those would be consumers that also eat Ben & Jerry's, but it's not their number one, or the number of quarts eaten in the last 30 days. So for our example, we'll just look at people that have eaten Ben & Jerry's most frequently. Notice you can combine indicators. That's a little more advanced. Say you wanted to know of women who eat Ben & Jerry's a lot. You want to know more about their demographics, or people who eat Ben & Jerry's a lot and they're really into, say, microbrews or wine. But for now, we'll just select Ben & Jerry's and we will add that as a column. Now for the rows in our crosstab, we want to know demographic information. The age, household income, education level, male versus female, say, racial differences. So an easy way to do this is to, in this drop down, there it is, select demos, so demographics, and then basic profile. So this lists everything I just mentioned. You can select individual categories if you want to really be precise. I tend to just select them all, and then you can filter out what you don't want later on. So there's education, marital status, number of children in the household, etc. So holding down the Shift key and selecting the first item and the last item, and we want these to be our rows. And the left column shows that we have Ben & Jerry's most often in the columns, and the rows, there's our demographics. Great, so let's run the crosstab. To do that, we select the big arrow at the top right. And here it is, here's the crosstab. And you're probably looking at this going, what in the world am I looking at? It's a bit overwhelming at first, but we can walk through what each of these columns, each of these numbers mean. So the sample is the total sample in this gigantic 2017 consumer behavior survey. So 11,864 consumers were included. That represents 241 million. So this weighted, you add 3 zeros onto the end of these numbers. So that's the total population statistically valid to say that they engage in whatever behavior you've selected. In this case, the number of Ben & Jerry's super consumers, let's call them. So this is the total right here in this column, and next to it, Ben & Jerry's super consumers. So of the total 11,954 indicated that they are Ben & Jerry's super consumers. That represents 19.3 million people. So next is the vertical and horizontal, and that may seem a bit puzzling at first. The way to read that is for the vertical, so of all people, all Ben & Jerry's super consumers, 44.7% are male, 55.3% female, 14.5% are young adults, etc. So you read top to bottom. For the horizontal, it's similar. Let's see. Of all 45 to 54-year-olds, 9.7% are Ben & Jerry's super consumers. So again, you read across for the horizontal. The final column, and probably the most significant and actionable, is this index number. So 100 is the average nationwide. If the index number is above 100, the consumer in this demographic are more likely to engage in the behavior, more likely to be Ben & Jerry's super consumers. If it's under 100, they're less likely. And kind of a rule of thumb is that 120 is a good cutoff. That if it's above 120, that's a group you really want to focus on for, say, your marketing plan. If you want to hide any columns that just kind of it's noise, it distracts you, you can do so. Look in the view. Yes, if you click on column titles, they will disappear from your view. Another good option to make it more readable is to filter. And you can add filters over here. So in this case, the index, if it's greater than 120, then we want to highlight the background. Let's say we want it to be yellow. Add that rule. This is just like a conditional statement in Excel. And you can see there the index numbers highlighted, those that are above 120. So those are these are the demographics you really want to focus on. So, okay, we see here, household income between $250,000 and $500,000 is 133. So those are more likely, much more likely, to be Ben & Jerry's super consumers. You'll notice in this next one down, for over 500,000, there's these stars. That means that the sample size is relatively small and that you should be cautious in attaching too much meaning or making claims regarding this survey. It says down here, use with caution. 1 star means use some caution. 2 stars means use a whole lot of caution. It's also worth mentioning that for the median and average, so this is the would be $87,000 for the median, $118,000 for the average. The index numbers kind of break down. I think they're not meaningful, so you wouldn't want to attach too much to that. So that's how it works. You do have the option of exporting to Excel, which many people like. So to do that, just open up the export section, click export to XLS. And eventually, there's our spreadsheet in Excel. Blow it up a little bit. You'll notice right away that the highlighting transferred over, as well as hiding the columns we didn't want. So that can be useful to more easily manipulate the data. That's it for the video. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact the library.